Just finished cutting my four adjuster pads out of Baltic birch with a 4-inch hole saw. In retrospect, I probably should have gone smaller, but this will work. Now I'm just going to sand them up here quick. Nothing hurt there. That's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more on the edge here. That's nice. So just some 150 paper, you know, a 1/4-inch bolt, because that's what the pilot hole is on the hole saw. I'll enlarge it here to 5/16 when I get done. And let me show you kind of a before and after here. So there's the after, and there's the before. You can see how kind of a rough shape they are. That does a pretty nice job. Okay, here's the anatomy of my adjusters. This is the pad that'll sit on the floor. I drilled, you know, because it's made with a hole saw, you've got a 1/4-inch hole there. But then I expanded that to 3/4 of an inch. Drilled it to depth, deep enough to accommodate a 1/4-inch washer, which is 3/4 inch outside diameter. So I dropped that in there. Then my adjuster itself, I guess, is just a carriage bolt. And the reason I'm using that is because of this rounded head. I thought I was going to use just a hex bolt and then kind of grind that, but when I went to buy bolts, they didn't have fully threaded 5/16 bolts. But this is going to be better anyway because it's rounded and it kind of nests into that hole of the washer, giving you that pivot action there, kind of like a hip socket, and that's what I'm looking for. So that'll sit in there. Then out of 1/4-inch Baltic birch plywood, I drilled with the hole saw, or cut I should say, caps that'll be glued on here. Now this hole is slightly oversized 5/16, so it gives me the ability for that thing to pivot and adapt to the contour or the slope of the floor. It's plenty. I mean, if the floor is more out of whack than what I've got here, probably maybe 3 to 5 degrees either side of perpendicular, then we got to get the floor fixed. So that's that. I think that'll work out pretty good. And the only thing I'm going to do here is, you can see on the bolt head, it's got you know, some stamping. I'm just going to take that and kind of grind that off with my belt sander. So that didn't take much, but I cleaned those off. So now it's nice and smooth on all sides. And I'll drop these in and glue them up. The other thing I forgot to mention was that when you drill the depth of this 3/4-inch hole, you have to accommodate for the washer, obviously, but then unless you want to grind these square shoulders off of the bolt, you could do that as well. So you have to go deep enough so that sits below the gluing surface, so that it doesn't interfere with this function right here. This is nothing more than just a friction type glue up, I guess. Putting glue just on the one side of the 1/4 inch cap. And I just lightly spread it around here. Drop it on and just give it a few twists. You get contact, glue contact all the way around. Take a look, make sure it's centered up. That's all there is to it. Right, here's the rest of the anatomy of this adjuster. I'm just going to take 2 standard nuts and a washer. I'll put some thread locker on both of these, jam them, and then that'll be give me the ability to move this in and out. Now the reason for the washer is that when you go to put your socket on there, it's just going to stay right there. It's not going to want to fall down on the other nut. So that's the reason for me doing that. But it gives me about a full inch of adjustment, which is plenty. And this is kind of I could put a knob on there, I suppose, and jam that, but I think this is plenty good. I will look at my knobs and see if I might have something that would work there. Well, on second thought, I did have some 5/16 knobs, so that will work out. I think that would be better. It'd be a toolless adjustment. So I'll jam those in there and put some thread locker on them, and that'll be that. So I had two of this style, but I did have 4 of these, like a large wing nut. But if you wanted to get by a lot cheaper, you could just use some nuts jammed against that washer.